You are now listening to Couch Coach Live with Couch Coach T. White and Showtime Season.
We're back here on Couch Coach Live. The 2-hour ride it is Couch Coach Live. And we shout out to LA. LA has a big declaration today. We got the decision going on. Tell them, man. You gotta tell them where you going. Tell them where you going, man.
It looks like I'm leaning.
Yes.
To go back to Philly, taking my my fanship back to Philadelphia. Full, Eagles, Sixers.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta go all Philly.
Melo's still I think Melo's always been my favorite player since AI. So that kind of.
Well, and like I said, when we text on draft night, you got your BFF in the fold, Jaleel Okafor. So I mean, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. Shout out to Sam Hinkie.
Yeah, man. He got something going on. We'll see.
Yeah, because when they got to it, I thought Okafor was gonna be one of those guys who just slid like.
Yeah.
You know how Paul Pierce was that year.
Mm-hmm.
He just filled a 10. Caron Butler was the same way.
Yeah.
It looked like it was because I was like, the Sixers, all right. D'Angelo Russell's gone. They need a point guard. I think Moutier's gone.
Yeah. And then he fell in your lap.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, and the whole thing with the way Embiid is working, it looks like something.
I don't know if he ever going to play.
Yeah, it's something about the manifest there. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, I know I shouldn't make this comparison, but it's just almost like how Eddie Curry felt in our labs back in 2001. I mean, I just hope it doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah, but again, then you had Isaiah Thomas running the Knicks, who gave up three first round picks for Eddie Curry.
Yeah, which I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, why would you take that?
And what's so funny? I was so excited, like, when that happened, because I was like, all right, he gonna give us a first round pick for Eddie Curry, because at that time I thought he was gonna lean towards Chicago, because Chicago had to end up having an insurance policy on him, where if something was because he had the heart issue, so they were gonna guarantee him. I don't know how much money it was, but I mean it was enough for him to live by for like the next 50 years. Yeah. And Zeke came and was like, I wanted 2 first round picks for him, so. No question. Like that erases the Elton Brand trade for Tyson Chandler. That erased everything. Scottie Pippen getting traded for Roy Rogers. Wow. Erased everything. Yeah.
You forget about some of those things that
happen. You forget about trust me, as a suffering Bulls fan, and getting rid of who was it? Ron Artest, but we did get Jalen Rose in the process. Yeah. So yeah, man.
And then you had Jamal Crawford.
And then Tyson Chandler for J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
J.R. Smith had a cup of coffee in Chicago.
Yeah. Speaking of Chicago, you see what Scottie Pippen said about LeBron?
Yeah. Matter of fact, that'd be pretty much our starting lineup. I kind of agree with him.
I do.
And it's funny to think that his game really does pale in comparison to LeBron James. Like, he was LeBron James before LeBron James.
Yeah. And the thing about it with Scottie, I think Scottie was a better defender, a better in-your-face defender than what LeBron was. LeBron is probably the best weak side defender I think I've ever seen. Like, cause you see him like he never guards the best player on the perimeter.
Yeah.
So he gets to freelance a lot. So that's why he gets all his rebounds and his chase down blocks because he's never guarding the main person.
The main person. Which
as far as like with Scottie didn't have to do as much offensively
as LeBron
does. So, I mean, and the game has also changed a whole lot. Like, you used to see Scottie when they put him in the backcourt, he would back down a lot of those defenders. Like, you can't do that now because of the 5-second rule.
5-second rule and just how the league is at this point. I always say it's a cross between him and like Grant Hill.
Yeah.
Because I always say Grant Hill was like an enigma.
Yeah.
Like
Grant Hill just couldn't shoot.
He just couldn't shoot. But he was, and it's funny to explain to people that are younger than us to think like, well, Grant Hill, like they think of the Grant Hill, Phoenix Grant Hill,
the Clippers Grant
Hill versus we knew him in Detroit and then at Duke. He was actually like the enigma, the type of. He was almost if you want to put it in a hip hop type of thing, like Grant Hill, he kind of was like almost like Big Daddy Kane. Like if he would have been in this era now, I think at 100%. Like if he was his, he came in the league in '94. Just imagine if he would have been here. If he would have been about 10 years. 10 years later, like in 2004 or something, he would be. On that same level because at that time we really couldn't categorize and almost like in a sense how Scottie is.
Yeah. I mean, we had so many other players that were like in that they could give you 25 points. The 25, 5 and 5 guys. That's what you.
Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, and then the league back then you had more stars together.
Yeah.
More so than now. It's almost like you still have your you still have your superstar type of guys, but you don't have like Hall of Fame tandems anymore. Like we're grew to and accustomed to. Only thing that we might have closest at this stage, which I really don't even. I mean, even when in Miami, I wouldn't say Dwayne Wade. If he was to be healthy, if he can resurrect his career to a point, he has the potential of becoming a Hall of Fame.
I think you put him in there anyway. It's just because the talent pool is in the NBA.
And that's one thing too. And a lot of people, and somebody asked me that question like a year and a half ago. If Dwayne Wade retired today, would I put him in the Hall of Fame? And I would say I would put him there because at that point, I mean,
because you look at what he did. He's a three-time champion. 2-time Olympian, he's got his All-Star MVPs, his scoring title. He's got enough accolades where you can say, all right, here you are.
And then and that's one thing I hate when people because we gotta realize the era that we're in. We don't like we just alluded seconds ago how you don't have the tandem groups anymore of Hall of Famers that off the bat. Like if you watch the game, you notice.
Like a lot of times, like especially with now in this day and age, it's harder to keep players together because you acclimate so much money to one person.
Yeah.
Where then that one person gets injured, and then so the second superstar has to step up, and then what happens? They succeed the first superstar. So now you got Clash of the Titans, if you would. Like you can say, like the perfect example would be Oklahoma City. The way Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, how they were. And then, even when they had James Harden thrown in the bunch, somebody wanted to succeed what was going on there. So, I mean, and it's also with the CBA. That plays a big part because back then you could sign 7-year contracts. Now, the most you can do is 4 years? 4 years. If you sign in a free agent, 5
and
if you resign.
5 and you can opt out after a certain amount of years. Which... Yeah, we're definitely going to NBA free agency towards the end of the show.
Okay.
But then it's the thing, God, I want to know how much salary cap will be next year.
Yeah.
And it's just, to me, it's just so funny how we always, we got to a point where everybody was feeling so sorry for these owners because they weren't making money. Yeah. But it's almost like you the ones that audition these god awful contracts to people. Which that's why I tell people. It's so weird when you think about like the economics of the NBA. It's like what you think. Like if a case in point, like a Russell Wilson, like he on the cusp and he's gonna get a big deal. NBA, he would have been got a deal. Yeah. He would have got a deal the first championship.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I mean, so you look at so many
that's what I'm
players
saying.
in the NBA who
the market is just
they hold teams. I guess you could say they held them hostage.
hostage.
Like you look at Joe Johnson. Like that year, he got
Oh my
6
God.
years, 125 million. Like there's no way that Joe Johnson ever get that kind of money. Even and then like
that?
you know players like Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah.
Like you saw the potential he had.
Yeah.
And he turns around and gets injured.
Yeah.
And he waits to have surgery. He's never the same player.
And,
Allen Houston was the same way.
And,
Penny Hardaway.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
now you're destroying cars. Shout out to Gilbert Arenas.
And then, but you know, it's like the thing with the NBA. That's the owner's fault. You guarantee 100% of their contract.
Exactly.
Like you look at Grant Hill, prime example. Grant
Yep.
Hill played what 1 year in Orlando.
And
you know,
then all that
signed-
money.
They signed him and Tracy McGrady
Great
the same year.
together. Oh, that was the worst summer of my life. that summer 2000 was the worst summer of my
because Tim
life.
Duncan was supposed to be in that free agent class too. And
Yeah,
his agent, you know,
and it was like, I mean, oh my God, that was a good free agent class. Oh my,
yeah.
because I thought we were gonna get Tracy, I thought we were gonna get Tim Duncan and Grant Hill. Well, I know we were looking at Grant Hill, but one like major. I forgot who they was trying to court. I forget who else. Because they trying Tracy McGrady real hard. Because I remember Elton Brand was a part of the recruiting of that. But yeah, we'll talk about more free agency towards the end of the show. Also, we had Bo Ryan, the coach of Wisconsin, is going to be retiring at season's end. Of course, he led the Badgers to back-to-back Final Four appearances in the last 2 years. In his 14 years at Madison, he had won 357 wins and 125 losses. So it's gonna be the last hoorah. So I don't know if there's gonna be a third appearance for the Badgers this year, or
it'll be tough.
Yeah. And I guess strange but awkward, scenario that is, and actually we're gonna start a summer series today. We're gonna call it the State of the Union, where it's just certain topics that we're gonna address and kind of enhance.
Okay.
The certain and today we're gonna do boxing, and of course today Oscar De La Hoya, he's gonna stay retired, which I'm actually glad he's doing.
Yeah, especially with boxers. I know because they get such like a lucrative payday for twice a year. Like you don't have to fight twice a year to get like $100 million, and I guess it seems worth it for the training that they do. But a lot of times boxers, they go through the money so fast that they don't manage it well, and you see them trying to fight at 50 years old, like Bernard Hopkins. Roy Jones is going to fight later on this year.
Yeah.
And with boxers, they don't know when to walk away from the game.
And Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah,
I'm glad his rap career. Well, that's probably one of the reasons why he wanted to fight again. That rap career was horrible.
It's just like you just look at like some of the boxers. Like Evander Holyfield still takes on fights. George Foreman contemplating if he should fight again. There's some things like when boxers walk away and they don't have enough people to tell them no, because the way boxing is, like, it's terrible right now because outside of the avid fan, you couldn't tell me 3 heavyweights.
And I don't. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah,
I don't. I don't know any of these guys.
And you got in the heavyweight division, you got Deontay Wilder and then the Klitschko brothers. That's it. That's all you know.
That's all. And with that, and we'll definitely talk about that more in the second hour as far as things to fix it and just certain ways that they can, because I think they can. There's a lot of stuff that can improve in the sport of boxing, and it really boils down to having a 21st century type of mentality when it comes to 21st century approach, not a mentality, but more so an approach. But also, and rounding out this week's starting lineup, LAU went home back to Philly, and also rocking the Phillies head as well. So we definitely got to give a shout out to Andy McPhail, who's going to be, I guess, the Phillies, Mr. Fix-It as far as Ross and stuff. He's going to be, the Sam Hinkie of the baseball operations in Philadelphia.
Gotta go.
So, yeah. Because as we alluded,
isn't working.
Yeah,
so,
it's not working.
And they're starting to tear down the team. Like you saw, Ryan Sandberg stepped away from the team, so he said it was better now than later.
Yeah.
Because he knew they were going to change positions in the front office, so he'd rather walk away than to be shamed away. I mean, and I think that should be ultimately anybody's decision as far as coaching is concerned. Like, if you know a team is bad, I mean, how in history, how
Yeah.
many times has a coach been fired mid-season and the team goes on this miraculous winning streaks and
Yeah.
you do great things? Just let
Yeah.
the team finish out. They're not going anywhere. Just let
Yeah.
them and just
Just let 'em
fire
finish.
everybody in the off season.
Yeah, and let people and give people opportunity to find another job.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Let them go on interviews and let them be wined and dined by different organizations around Major League Baseball. But yeah, I mean, so it looks like it's in the right direction. So what we'll do is take a brief time out. We'll come back. We'll do a little NBA draft recap. We'll be back. This is Couch Coach Live. Gotta hit you guys up with the this week's starting five, the NBA draft recap. Blah. So shout out to our research department here, Couch Coach Live, with the questions. Question number one: what team had the best draft?
I would say the Timberwolves
Okay.
because it looks like what they're trying to do. They picked up a big man and they picked up a point guard. So you know how you go back to the old Stockton and Malone. You got that 1-2 punch. It's something like you think you. That's how. If I was to build a team, that's how I would build a point guard, dominant big man, something of that nature. So you can develop. They can develop at the same time. And you know they grow in the league. They're coming in the league together. They grow together. So they take their growing pains together.
And they're the same age.
Yeah. So
and Ty's from Minnesota.
He's from Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
So it was a homecoming for him, and I think that's why Minnesota made that trade.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's from Minnesota. Yeah, that is crazy. Okay. Actually, I got like 1 and 1A. Miami, I like getting a guy like Justice Winslow. Like we said already, he's pretty much versatile. He could play multiple positions. He could possibly be the heir apparent to Dwayne Wade, possibly. And then just to think, 19 years of age. Like and that's one thing. I think that's what makes the draft and makes these one and done guys so intriguing because of just their age. They really haven't reached their full potential, and then it's I call it like it's like the gift and the curse. You look at these guys and like, wow, God, just imagine if he's doing this, especially like a case point with him. You see him dominate in high school. You even see him dominate even now in college in 1 year. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, just imagine if he's, especially now under the tutelage of Eric Spoelstra as well as Pat Riley, just imagine how his game will be in the next 4 to 5 years. And then getting a guy like I like Josh Richardson as well, what they got in the second round. A nice decent swing man, which ultimately one day they make him, play good with each other and what have you. I actually had 2 honorable mentions. I want to give a shout out to Boston. I like what Boston did because Boston kind of slowly reminded me of how like Chicago is doing now as far as their pre Carlos Boozer before they became like that number one. Before they came like a top team in the East when they were like 7 or 8. How they start accumulating good young talent that's coming from a rich tradition and coming from winning backgrounds like Terry Rozier and R.J. Hunter. Shout out to
Georgia State.
Yeah, Georgia State won the Cinderellas in this year's NCAA tournament. And also another team I really like, Houston. I mean, getting a guy like a Sam Decker, which, all right.
To me, I think with Sam Decker, Houston really messed up letting Chandler Parsons go.
Yeah.
So now Sam Decker is that clone of Chandler Parsons. And I think that's not what they needed. They needed a point guard. Like the Patrick Beverly experiment, okay. And he's a good coming off the bench, but you can't expect him to play 30 minutes because what Houston has to do is take the ball out of James Harden's hand. I understand he's the best player on their team, but in the fourth quarter, looking at that Golden State series, he's not fundamentally sound enough to run the offense. So you needed a point guard.
Yeah, and which they may address in free agency, which I think they might have on the sleeve. And then I think, and even with these guys, I really don't project them to be like superstars, but I think they are great. Like Sam Decker will be a great role player in the league, and as well as Montrezl Harrell. I can't of course I follow AC very intimately. So to see a guy like a Montrezl Harrell who, it's always with him is everybody. There's no middle ground. But I've heard people. He's like you love him or you hate him.
Yeah,
he's that type of guy, and I think. Ultimately, he'll help that team, and like I said, he'll be more so of a role player from that situation. So, round out, got question number 2. What team had the worst draft?
Well, Jordan's going to fall in there some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Because just off of the strength that for the 3rd straight year, he's drafted the third time he's drafted the same type of player, Big Ten forwards. like what are you thinking? Like they're all these perimeter who can float around, the big men who can knock down the 15 to 20 foot jump shot.
Yeah.
And they needed backcourt scoring. That's ultimately what I thought. I thought he was going to take Justice Winslow.
And that would have been a smart thing to do.
Because you just traded Gerald Henderson. You traded Lance Stevenson. So now,
What I mean, you losing scoring. Like, you don't have...
Nick Batum is not going to be that guy that's going to give you 20 points a game.
Not little Michael Jackson, no.
So they needed...
And that's my thing. Oh, and it's so head scratching because to me, they're in such a great spot when it's come as far as the Eastern Conference because you can turn around like Boston. Boston has showed shout out to Danny Age.
Yeah.
He has showed us a blueprint of what you need to do as far as coming from the cauldrons of the basement in the Eastern Conference. Accumulate like and did you hear the rumor? Shout out to Zach Lowe from Grantland that Boston offered them 6 picks
to jump
to number 9,
and they were going to take Justice Winslow.
And they could have got Frank Kaminsky at what Boston pick at what I think they had like 16.
Yeah, because looking at the thing, Frank Kaminsky might have went to Indiana. I don't think they would have let him go.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, there was a good shot you could have got him, and even with and at this stage, even with Boston is especially trading up in the Eastern Conference and trading up in the NBA, to kind of get a late, and then even with that, you can always leverage those picks to get something else. That's why I'm like, and that's why Boston is out of their cauldrons now because of that whole Kevin Garnett trade and and the Paul Pierce trade. They got multiple picks and what they were gonna do with that one, gonna give multiple picks, give them to Charlotte.
Yeah, because then you could have take those, you could leverage those same picks, jump back in the top 10. You could have done something because
and you could have jumped back in and could have got yourself a little bit more grounded when and like we said, you could address with those picks. And I'm not trying to say you're gonna hit you're gonna hit a home run with each 6, but hell, if you hit 3 home runs. Or
you
even,
don't have to hit home runs.
You can hit singles
and doubles.
Yeah, hell, you even have to go home.
Just
get something like you said. And even at that stage, you're looking at, okay, if you would have been at 16, there still would have been some quality guys left there. And even like we said, you probably could have still got Frank Kaminsky, and you could have got those picks.
But you could have picked up like so many other players that are comparable. Like you see that,
like
you see it in the NFL all the time. Okay, they miss out on this player. What player is similar in strength that same player has?
Exactly.
So, like I said, until Jordan finds somebody that can actually run his team, because he's got that complex where I'm Michael Jordan and things are going to be done my way.
No question. And that's what he got, like Charles Barkley said, and even to his detriment. He said with him, he got a bunch of yes men that's there, and
he needs somebody with a high basketball IQ to be president of operations. All right, you're the owner. We got that. You're Michael Jordan. But you need someone with a basketball mind to run your team. Because the coaching hires he makes is like he finds older coaches that don't have that much of a window. Like you want a coach that you can. All right, I understand you want a coach that you can probably mold and have them do things that you want, but at least give yourself a 10-year window. You got a 3-year window with a lot of these coaches.
Yeah, I remember like when he got Larry Brown. I'm like, why?
Yeah, and then who was the other one?
Who else did he hire? He hired the guy now with Steve Clifford.
Yeah, then he had
because was he a part of Bernie Bickerstaff?
Yeah, Bernie Bickerstaff.
And then the other guy was it Bristow? No, Bristow. That's from Charlotte from the 90s. It was Bernie Bickerstaff.
Guy Hurl? No.
No.
He was an older guy. Oh man, he was a former player.
Not Paul Silas.
Paul Silas was there?
He was there? But he was in there before. It was like around like
he was with the Bobcats, but
really? Oh yeah, he sure was.
Yeah,
he was with the Bobcats because that was right after he got fired from Cleveland.
Yeah,
that's it.
But it's like it's just the older coaches like they're setting their ways. You need somebody that's gonna adapt to the way the game is changing.
Yeah.
So
and especially and like we said, the new wave of the NBA. Where where we even talk about positionless basketball, multiple combo guards, great. Like I'm saying, like with him, he could address a lot of needs. And this was and out of most of the years, I think this is a really really talent rich draft.
Yeah.
And I mean and that's one thing it benefits teams that like in a lower level too because you gotta think about it. And even like we said, even if Boston if they would have got Boston picks. Most of the time when you get these guys in the late second round, these are guys who've been in college for 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Actually, the way it used to be at once upon a time, and those were the guys that you can develop, and they'll be more of an easier to adjust.
Yep.
Versus getting a 19-year-old kid that's just 1 year removed from high school versus you getting a guy who's probably 22, 23 years old who's matured.
Yeah.
Who's been through a lot more as far as basketball career wise and just dealing with adversity. But the team I think who had the worst, in my opinion, was Sacramento. Sacramento starting, and I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm just gonna say it. Sacramento starting to remind me of my NFL team. There's just a lot of dysfunction. Like to me, it's just like okay, you're gonna get a guy like we said. See, that's one thing I don't understand with these teams. Even when I think I put Justice Winslow going to Sacramento, and you were even saying like, well, they got Rudy Gay, but even with that. That's a whole lot better than getting Willie Trill Cauley-Stein. Trill. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what does this mean as far as are we gonna get rid of Boogie? I mean,
that looks like what's gonna happen. Some way, somehow, it's gonna be a sign and trade deal that I think is gonna happen because they said I can't remember it was on Bleacher Report, I think. Yeah. Where the Lakers still might actually try to trade D'Angelo Russell to get, but because they value Cousins that much more, and when you look at the D'Angelo Russell to Mitch Kupchak, it looks like a great move. Yeah. As far as getting another guard to replace Kobe, because that's what it looks like. Yeah. I'm gonna find a way to wash Kobe out of here. Yeah. And the Bucks is probably no, we're gonna let Kobe walk away on his own terms.
Yeah, so. And that's what it is, and I think that's what it boils down to. And then I just think the whole DeMarcus, but yeah, I mean, and even with that, that's why I kind of, and we'll definitely talk about it more in we'll have a great NBA free agent game, which we'll definitely have fun with it. I think there's going to be a domino effect of one of those point guards that we will mention. It will be a part of that equation, which I'm thinking that's what it ultimately boils down to because, like we said earlier, like as far as the point guard play in the East, I mean in the West, you got Chris Paul in your backyard, in the same arena with you. You got Russell Westbrook. I mean, you're going to have a grind every night. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have, point guards all through. So it's definitely Sacramento because Sacramento is just to a point where it's such a level of dysfunction. Like you're ready to trade. I'm not trade, but actually fire George Karl.
Yeah, just because he said he wanted to trade Boogie Cousins.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay. I mean, what you expect? Honestly, and to be honest, out of all the key people he's had an issue with. You wouldn't think Boogie Cousins would be in that same line.
Especially when Boogie Cousins got Paul Westphal fired.
Yeah. He's got a lot of guys.
He's got a lot of coaches. He has got a lot of coaches fired.
Robert? Yeah. Don't get me started. But that's what I'm saying. And that's what it really boils down to. And then it's like and then you're gonna fire a guy like Mike Malone who actually got him to an all-star level, and then and then you get a guy like a George Karl, and it's funny because I even was saying this is kind of a bad move for Sacramento because they're too young, and just the fact of I just don't. It's not a good fit. It's not a good And then I know he's not gonna get along with Boogie because I knew that for a fact. You don't even have to have basketball sense to understand.
Yeah, it's trouble with that. It's George Karl. And the thing about George Karl is why would you take that job? You're one of the all-time winningest coaches without a ring, so you think you would go something towards a little bit more of a contender?
Yeah, and it's gonna
one of those teams that they find a 5 through 8 seed in the West, East, whatever. Yeah,
you find they 9th and 10th in the West.
And they smell the playoffs.
Yeah, and they not gonna smell the playoffs. And how the West is definitely set up. At this stage, I would only take Cavalier and Warriors jobs. At this stage, because at least I know I'm set up for something.
You could take an OKC job.
You take an OKC job. It's Chicago. You could take any kind of job. But Sacramento, I would have just held out. Yeah. Because even at that time, we already knew OKC was gonna have a new coach. Because the writing was on the wall, Scott Brooks. And
Scott Brooks said, he hasn't found a job yet.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's unbelievable. That's just how that's all I don't understand about certain things. It's a lot of coaching hires that kind of make my head scratch. So moving along, question number 3: Who in 5 years will be the biggest star? It's okay.
The biggest star out of this draft in 5 years, we were talking about it. You want to say Justice Winslow? Yeah. It's a toss-up because so many things can go to have the draft before free agency is kind of mind-boggling because you don't know which pieces are gonna go where.
Which I think that's one thing. It's almost like it sets you up for failure.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because now you're entrusting like the rookies to step up in a position where you may not get in free agency. It's almost like it should be the other way around. Where it's like okay,
like the way football does. You do free agency first, then. You pick the rookies to try to, all right, maybe this is what we need.
He'll be a great fit for what we got in the free agent market. Yeah. So, who knows? So you said...
I want to say Justice. It's a combo. It's just so many things. I'm going to go... I'll throw my Duke guys out there. All three of them.
Okay.
Call me biased. It's okay.
It is what it is. I mean, I would go on a limb and say JP Togedo, but no.
Who's a sixer, by the way.
Yeah. So that's somebody you got to root for. Hey, I got you. You got to do what you got to do. But I say D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
I think in 5 years, I think it will be. So question number 4: who will win the Rookie of the Year? That didn't come from Duke. No, let me stop.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it don't matter. No, it could be. It don't matter. Just who will be the Rookie of the Year? And just for now. You're
change.
Oh yeah, it's gonna change. Oh yeah, it's gonna change during the NBA preview in October.
I'll say D'Angelo Russell just because he's a point guard playing for a point guard coach. So
Yeah.
You never know how Kobe's gonna turn out. So somebody's got to score at some point. So
yeah.
And then if Joel Embiid plays, because I think they should take that rule out. If a rookie gets hurt his rookie year, he's eligible for rookie of the year the next year. I think that's the dumbest rule.
Yeah, because it's just like it's almost he redshirting.
Yeah, because Julius Randle is also eligible for a rookie of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Which I said Manuel Mudiay. I'm just gonna say that out. That's out the blue. Okay. Random.
No Kristaps.
No Porzingis. To round out this week's starting 5 NBA Draft Edition, which player are you looking forward to watching in the Summer League?
It's going to be Porzingis. I wanted, like some of those overseas guys, Porzingis, Hazonia, to see how they transition from European basketball to American basketball. Those guys are always the high intrigue. Like you remember when Yao Ming played in Summer League, everybody wanted to see how he was going to be.
Yeah.
Brandon Jennings was another one who
Yep.
went overseas. He came back. You just wanted to see how he played because
out of curiosity.
And then because you look at the Summer League, like some of those guys' field goal percentage is like, okay, you can't do that playing in the NBA. Like remember Anthony Davis' first Summer League game was like 2 for 17. It's like no, don't do this.
No more jealous. Yeah. And I've noticed from Summer League is a good thing because when you really realize your Summer League roster, if half the team that's playing is in your starting lineup, it's gonna be a bad season.
If your team is made up of D-League players, because that's where all the Summer League guys go.
Yeah, and that so I'm looking forward to Karl Anthony Towns, just the whole Minnesota Timberwolves wave that is. I mean, I'm really liking how the team is starting to slowly constructed. And then Kelly Oubre from Kansas, actually from the Wizards. I want to see what he's going to do because to me, he only gave me a sample size. I mean, his tenure at Kentucky suggests the appetizer.
He's a Kansas.
What did I say?
Kentucky.
Oh gosh, with a cook.